Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the new module, Cold Campaign Setup. Today, we're going to be talking about setting up your paid ads, specifically your cold traffic campaigns, so that you can start targeting audience members that, they're interested in the service that you're providing or, the realm that you are serving, but they don't know who you are. Okay. That is what the cold campaigns are all about. So we're going to walk through basically this Word document first, just kind of giving you an oversight, an understanding, and some context towards what it is that we're talking about. And then we're actually going to jump into my ads manager and build a few things out very, very quickly, just so that you can actually see it up close and personal, so you know exactly what to do. Okay. So module itinerary, finding your ideal audiences, using your prospect email list, and campaign setup, step-by-step guide. All right. So module lesson plan. So building your campaigns, the basics. So first things first, name your campaigns using top of the funnel. All right. As a reminder that this is traffic that is cold traffic. And you're going to basically do that for your retargeting as well too, whether your targeting is more extensive where you use top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, or just top of the funnel and retargeting. But just make sure that you get in the habit of naming your campaigns properly so that you know exactly what that campaign is actually doing and what the purpose is. Okay. When selecting a campaign objective, click leads. For your conversion location, you want to select website. In your pixel section, you want to select whichever pixel event is on the final page of the booking confirmation. Okay. Almost want to highlight this for you guys because I get a lot of people asking me if the first pixel event on your, let's say your opt-in page is, opt-in, right? Are you optimizing for that to maximize more traffic coming there? Well, the fact of the matter is you have to ask yourself, what is the ideal conversion goal, right? So for instance, when we're working with e-commerce brands, we're optimizing for purchases. So you, in this case, also want to optimize for whatever your final conversion result is, whatever your desired result really is. So for you, it's leads, okay? So this will all depend on what you basically set your pixel event to on that final page. For us, it's the confirmation page. So the confirmation page will basically let us know that someone's actually booked in a call on Calendly, and it redirects them to that page. So when they land there, it lets us know that they've confirmed and they've actually booked in a call. Okay. So you'll want to make sure that your pixel is set up there, and you'll want to make sure that when you're setting up your ad, it is set to that. Okay. So then you'll want to schedule your campaign to go live a few days in advance at 12 a.m. on the main time zone that you work in. Okay. So there's two audiences that you're going to want to need. All right. Interests. These are very simple. These are something where, you don't need data to work with. This is basically the very first step of actually creating your ads. So you want to do interest testing and then your lookalike audiences from your email list. Okay. Chances are, unless you've been running ads for quite some time, you won't be able to build out lookalike audiences with the current data that you have, especially as a boutique agency. You just don't have enough data, and you probably haven't been spending enough money on ads to have that much data. Okay. So interests and lookalike audiences from your email list that we've provided you. Okay. So if you don't have an email list of 3,000 plus prospects in your target audience, you need one. Okay. We've probably provided you one with the email, with the done for you service attached to this community, obviously, that we're providing for you. So utilize that email list, get a hold of it, and basically upload it to your Facebook Business Manager so that you can start using it to target your lookalike audiences, to find cold traffic that, are prospects that want to work with you. Okay. So let's talk about interest targeting real quick. So interest targeting works best when you stack audiences and learn how to narrow down your target customer. Okay. So type in your target niche. So example, if I'm an e-com agency and I'm targeting clothing brands, I would type in the interest tab, clothing, men's clothing, women's clothing, etc. Okay. And you begin basically stacking up those interests. So this applies for any niche. So maybe you're in the e-commerce space, but you work with tech companies, right? You could basically go into the interest side and search up computers, hard drives, microphones, electronics, all these different things. And you start stacking up the interests. Okay. So step one, stack up the interests. All right. Then what you want to do is step number 2 is begin narrowing down your audience. Okay. So when you're narrowing down your audience, you want to make sure that, because now you have this massive audience of people that are interested in electronics or interested in clothing, all this stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a business owner. So the best way to actually narrow down is to make sure that they are a business owner. Okay. So select the narrow down option and select must also include. This is where you'll want to narrow down your audience by someone that, is in your, what your audience is basically already interested in. Okay. So the best way to actually do this is to focus more so on the softwares, right? Focusing in on the things that business owners in your niche actually utilize. So again, for an e-commerce business owner, they're going to be interested in Shopify, okay, or WordPress or Klaviyo or Facebook Business Admin, okay? And again, we're going to build this out for you, so don't worry, don't overwhelm yourself. It'll make a lot more sense when I actually show you. But I basically like using softwares to narrow things down, just because I know that like business owners are using these softwares. I found that when we start stacking these audiences, so for instance, we work with a lot of clothing brands, and we found that was like the highest quality traffic that was actually coming into us. We would basically stack these interests. And this is at a point where I didn't even understand how to like upload my email list. So this is like at a point in time where I only did interest targeting. I would stack all the interests, and then I would narrow down basically by like Shopify and like Facebook Business Admin, these different softwares, and only Shopify users and people would come to us, right? We always kept Shopify in there because for us personally, we just only like working really with Shopify brands just because it's much easier to track. We can upload triple whale to them. It's just a lot easier. It's a lot less headaches. So that's basically what we did. And it worked. It worked very, very well. Okay. So I highly recommend stack the interests. And then when you go to narrow down, utilize a software that those business owners use, or something that you just know deep down that like that business owner uses this. So the only people using this is my ideal client. Okay. And then this will be one ad set, which will be labeled as your clothing audience. Okay. For instance. All right. So one ad set is going to have a bunch of different interests in it with the narrow down option. Okay. And you're basically going to just duplicate that, and you're going to create that for multiple different niches. So again, this example only really works if you're like in the e-commerce space. And let's say you work with like clothing brands, electronic stores, you name it, beauty and skincare, all these different things, right? So you can start to like stack these interests of things that make sense for that industry and then narrow it down, right? Typically narrowing it down, especially if you're only working with like Shopify brands, it's pretty simple to narrow down with. Just include Shopify in there and you're pretty much good to go. Okay. Now, again, the budget for each ad set should be about $15 to $20 a day. When you're testing, you can begin to ramp up later down the road. Target locations will depend on what locations that you target. So for local lead gen, you'll specifically want to type in the cities that you work with. For agencies like mine, we target the US, and the UK. Steered away from targeting places like the UAE or Australia. The UAE is just not a very good one. You'll get a lot of like low quality traffic. People that book calls, your CPMs will be very low. Click-through rate will be low. All these things. Cost per book call will be low, but people just won't show up. So I just highly recommend only working with like the US, Canada, and the UK, especially if you're like from the West. Australia is really good. However, the time zone difference is just a nightmare, and they typically want to work with people that like are going to be awake at some point when they're awake as well too. Okay. Now, only place your ads on the feed and stories. Everything else is a waste of time and money. Okay. I'm just going to be blunt. If you're basically like utilizing like automatic placements, you might have lower CPMs, but that's only because your ads are being shown to places that like it just doesn't really make sense to show it to. So the traffic is cheaper and all these things. And it'll go one of two ways. It might be cheaper, or it might just be like egregiously more expensive. So I highly recommend just only utilize stories and feed. Okay. And you're going to want to make sure that when you're posting for your feed, that the dimensions are meant for the feed. And when you're posting to your stories, the stories are meant for the story. Okay. So let's just dive right into my business manager and we can start breaking things down. Let me go share tab. Okay, perfect. So now we're in my business manager here. So again, these are just some of the ad campaigns that we've been running. Very simple, very straightforward. We've actually had to turn them off recently just because like we're basically at capacity at our agency. We're looking to bring on a new media buyer here. So we're kind of turning the tap off in terms of lead generation and just kind of working with like nurturing our current pipeline. But anyways, this is what it basically looks like. Okay. So you're going to want to go to create. You're going to want to go into leads. Okay. Before, I will make note of this. Okay. Before, what we used to do is we used to actually go into sales. Okay. So when you click sales, as you can see here, now Facebook actually does a good job for once. It'll actually tell you like what this is good for. So if you want calls, Messenger, WhatsApp, catalog, and sales conversions, stuff like that. Okay. So it all really depends on like how you're going about this. For obviously this instance, you're going to want to do more so like leads, right? Because again, leads will still allow you to target based on conversions, but your goal is leads, all right? So we'll go on over to leads, continue. All right, so we'll call this one top of funnel agency leads. I also like to, as you can see, I like to kind of place like where I'm actually directing this traffic to, just in case we're running a split test. So for this one, it'll be the opt-in page. Excuse my very slow typing here. And that's basically it. Okay. I don't recommend turning this on or nothing like that. It's just not necessary. This all looks good. Bind type auction, campaign objectives, leads, and all is good there. Gonna hit next. Okay, so now this is where things start to get a little bit more complex. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is obviously, if you're driving traffic to your VSL funnel, you're going to want to click website. Okay, if you just want your leads to fill out like an instant form, that's totally fine. But most of this module then is not going to apply to you. Okay, there's different options for basically everything. You can drive traffic straight to your messenger, straight to your Instagram chats. You can have people call your business directly or just generate leads like through an app if you have one. Okay. For the most part, you're going to want to go to website. All right. So you're going to go to website. And then when you go to choose event, as you can see here, mine already active, but for mine, it's lead. Okay. So for me personally at our agency, on the final step, it's a 4-step funnel. We have our opt-in page, we have our VSL page, the booking page, and the confirmation page. Okay. Confirmation page is where it says lead. That's where the pixel event is basically installed into. So that's what we're going to be optimizing for, is lead. Okay. Scroll down here, can keep dynamic creative off. That's no big deal. We can keep $20 Canadian on. So like I said, I would not recommend scheduling your ads during a weekend. So never on like a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I would always recommend just starting on like a weekday. Okay. So we're going to do Monday for this instance. We're going to do 12 a.m. Go down here. Locations. States. Kingdom. Okay. Keep it there. Scroll down. Now for age demographic, again, this will all depend. Personally, for me, being in the e-com and infoproc space, we don't like working with people that like typically just don't have enough money, or they're too young, where they don't have a very good like business sense on average. Okay, obviously like there's like the very small demographic of people that do, but typically we like to keep it around 25, and we'll range it to about 40. These are also people that, like, again, when we talk about like work culture and team culture, like we just find that this demographic of people are like the easiest to relate to. I don't really like connecting with people that are like above 65. They're old. They're looking to settle down. They're not like super driven, stuff like that. Right. So keep this in mind. Okay. So 25 to 40. And then basically this is where you can start targeting your interest targeting. Okay. So you basically come into here, and let's say we're working with the clothing niche. Okay. So we'll search up men's clothing, apparel. We'll do women's clothing. Now it's super easy. Facebook makes it insanely easy for you, because all you have to do now is just go to suggestions, and they have all these different things. So you can click dresses, click skirt, shirt, clothing, trousers, shorts, boutiques, blouse, sweater. Okay. So you can see here, like we're stacking a bunch of different things. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to come down here and go to define further. Okay. So, and must also match. So basically, like anyone who's interested in these things must also match this demographic that you're targeting. So I would do Shopify. Okay. Shopify software. Now look at how much obviously that estimated audience actually dropped. And the thing with Facebook is now is maybe in I don't know, 2015, 2016, you would want like a little bit of a smaller demographic to target. But now with Facebook, you actually want a larger audience. And the reason for that is because you want to give Facebook more people to basically target, because Facebook on their back end, it's kind of one of those things where they're just like, trust us with this. And unfortunately, we're at the hands and the mercy of Facebook. But I can like stand behind this. If you have a larger audience, it's actually going to work a lot better. So aim for a higher audience. It'll just make your life a lot easier. Okay. And then basically you're going to want to come in here, all languages. You definitely want to turn this to English all. And as you can see here, it's a little bit more narrowed down, but very, very simple. Okay. So now you're targeting basically people that are interested and involved in, clothing, the clothing niche, but they're also interested in Shopify brands. Okay. And again, you can take this even a step further. You can go Facebook business, and you can do this: Facebook business admins, page admins. There you go. Okay. So very, very, very simple. All right. So it all depends up to you. Play around with this. I will say that like it took me and my team and my CMO to basically like test this a lot. The good news is obviously like I had done tons of testing before I brought in my CMO. So we just basically optimize this on the interest level. I don't recommend you use a ton of different ad sets with interest. Of course, the beauty of having your email list is that's actually going to give you like a really high quality list to create lookalike audiences off of. So again, this is just one example, okay? So that's your interest. Again, for placements, do not do this, please. Take that off, take that off. You're only going to want to keep the feed. So we're going to take all these off, explore that, and then that. I would honestly also take off Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels unless you know for a fact that like your video is optimized for Reels, okay? I just wouldn't recommend it because again, you have to think about it like Reels, no one's really clicking on ads from Reels. Like people are just kind of mindlessly scrolling. It's like TikTok. Like the thing with TikTok ads, and we'll get into this in later modules, is like it just has to be so different and it has to be so fast paced because people's attention span is so bad. So again, I would just keep it to the stories unless you know that your ad creative is optimized for Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels. Okay. I'll take this off. And that's basically it. In article, take that off. Now you're good. Okay. Very, very simple. So now what you do is obviously you'd come into here, you'd build out your ad creatives, you'd upload your ad creatives, you'd copy and paste basically your copy in there as well too, and then you're good to go. And then when you're ready, let's say you're in the e-com space and you don't only just work with clothing brands, you also work with other kinds of brands, you can come in here and then you can remove these demographics. And then you can basically add in new ones, right? So then maybe you work with like the beauty niche, right? So you would basically just come in here. Let me just remove all these for you. You would come in here and like, let's say you would just search up like lipstick. And so lipstick, suggestions, lip gloss, mascara, eyeliner, eyeshadow, skincare, facial, like you name it, right? Like you can see there's so many different options. But again, because you've narrowed it down now, by Shopify software and Facebook page admins, you're only targeting people that are business owners, typically people that have a Shopify brand and people that are a Facebook page admin. Okay. So very, very simple, very easy to do. And that's basically interest targeting. Okay. Now, the same thing would basically apply to when you're creating your lookalike audiences. All you would need to do is just come into custom audiences, come in here, go into lookalike audiences, and then create new source. And then basically when you come into here, it's very, very simple. So if you have your email list, you would just come into customer list, and then you can import from basically a file template for MailChimp, all these different things. And you just need to fill in all this information. Okay. So I'll run through that one more time. I know I did that a little fast. So you just have to basically come into create new audience, create new lookalike audience. You go into create new source, custom audience. And then based on wherever you're bringing in this like lookalike audience information from, you can choose. So for your email list, it's going to be your customer list. Okay. That's the one that I would highly recommend using. Again, as you begin running more ads, it's going to become a little bit easier because you're going to be building up so much more data. So you'll have data on maybe a specific video creative that's worked really, really well. Or maybe, so many people have come to your opt-in page or so many people have booked in a call with you that you can now start to use like your website data. Things like that. Or maybe your Instagram account is like so hyper optimized with your audience that you can use your Instagram account. Okay. So you get the point. Again, you have an email list now, which is amazing. So now you can begin to run ads for your ideal demographic, which is again, by clicking customer list, coming here, clicking next, and then you come in here, upload your template, and then you're good to go. Okay. So that is it for today's module, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys really enjoy this one. I know that at least for myself, like paid ads helped me significantly because I know that once, you get paid ads as a system down in your agency, it almost acts as like it's a tap, right? So if you can imagine, whenever your agency needs new clients, let's say like you're bringing on a new media buyer, you approach your capacity with your current media buyer or your CMO, and you're trying now to scale to the next level, you brought in a new media buyer. It's like a tap. You basically turn your ads on and you know that they convert. Now you just basically wake up to new booked calls in your calendar. And that's literally what happened for me for about like a 6-month like streak where, we were sitting here at around like 8 to 10 clients. we had enough money in the bank. We were also making really good cash flow. We just started running ads, and lo and behold, calls were getting booked, and it was really, really cool. Obviously, it took about a month or two to like actually get it optimized, but once you do, I'm telling you, it's like a tap. You just turn it on and leads start just flowing in. It's a really beautiful thing. So if you're at that point right now where you're running ads, I highly recommend it. I hope this module helps you guys out a lot. Go into the Discord, and if you guys have any questions, please drop questions in there. I know that myself included in this, I will help you guys out. I'll be there answering tons of questions. And our CMO, who also manages our agency ads, will also be helping out as well too. And make sure if you have questions around your agency ads that you're asking these on the weekly calls as well too, because again, based off of your current situation, whether you're choosing to run your traffic to your website or maybe you're building lead forms, whatever that looks like, we can help you out. Okay. So don't hesitate to ask questions, and even ask questions into the community as well too, because I'm sure there's a lot of other agency owners running ads who are seeing really good results. Okay. So that's enough of me rambling. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next module.